Hello everybody, my name is Houston Smith. I'm a senior at Valdosta State University, and this is my presentation on a day trip I took to Gainesville, Florida, to the Florida Museum of Natural History, as well as to its butterfly garden hosted by the University of Florida. With this trip, I got to see a lot of different things, including the museum itself with all its different displays and artifacts that detailed the history of Florida's natural history, as well as looking at the different things that led to civilization as we know it today. So I thought it was a very good experience to have, and I definitely suggest it to anybody that is in the area. I'm going to start out with just my detail of my walk through the butterfly gardens. This is me right there in front of the walk-in there with a cool looking butterfly stool that was there that I sat on. I thought that was a pretty good touch there. One of the first sightings I did see when I came through was a pretty orange one called the leopard lacewing, Sethosia cyane. These ones were pretty common in the enclosure itself, and a lot of them tended to be around these particular plants. I did actually not get the name for them, but they tend to be drawn to them quite a bit more than the other plants that I did see. Also, one of my personal favorites, I liked this one not only because I love swallowtail butterflies, but also this one was slightly deformed on its left-hand side of the wing. But this is the three-tailed tiger swallowtail, Papilio pilumnus. Next, there was the tree nymph, the Idea lucioni, and this one was, again, another species that was quite common on the plants with the white flowers and the exuded stamens that you can see on there, so those ones were quite common on the same plant as well. Next is the mimic egg fly. I saw a lot of these on the fresh fruit that were laid out in the on the plant-looking containers that were held out and throughout the enclosure. They generally loved the sweetness of the fruits that were out, so this was kind of a nice treat to see those around each corner. This one I saw was actually on a log that was put over on the path, was called the banded Grecian shoemaker, Cantinephale orides. I thought it was really pretty with the contrast of the black and white together. And of course, one of my personal favorites as well is the blue morpho. Anyone that kind of sees this one will know exactly why it's called the blue morpho, is for its brilliant blue wings. Fortunately, couldn't get quite all the wings for this shot for it, but it's still a beautiful butterfly and is one of the most used butterflies in movies throughout the world. And with the striking difference in contrast between the black and the yellow for this one, I really liked seeing this one as well, called the common birdwing, Troides helena. This one was interspersed throughout with no particular plants. It tended to go towards the other. Then there was one I came across, and for looking up its identification, thought it was pretty funny in what it was called. It was simply called an owl. But its scientific name is Caligo memnon. And with my favorite color being lime green, if you couldn't tell by the PowerPoint presentation already anyway, this one was a particular favorite as well too, called the tailed jay, Graphium agamemnon, which kind of made me think of the king that Achilles was fighting with in the story of with the Helen of Troy in regards to that story. And of course, the giant atlas moth, Atticus atlas. These ones were actually on display inside in a holding room, where, if you can also see in the background, they actually had them all over the chairs and things. These were pretty much the butterflies free roaming after in the enclosure with where they came from their chrysalises, and they were released and would fly around in this room until they were extracted and taken into the actual butterfly garden itself. And another favorite of mine with its lime green color was the common clipper, the Parthenosylvia. This one actually landed right in front of me. I was walking around a corner and I thought it was just a perfect moment to get a snapshot of it. And some of the plants that I did happen to see in the enclosure as well that I thought deserved honorable mention for as I passed them was one of the anthurium species that I came across with its pretty red and pink that was associated with these foliage around here. Also was a particularly interesting plant I had never actually seen before called the yellow shrimp. Its scientific name Pachystaches lutea. I might be butchering that, I hope not. But this one with its vibrant yellow colors and the kind of vibrant yellow colors with the white coming off really did kind of resemble some kind of creature that was about to come out and attack me at some point. And with the pretty red and pink colors associated with this with this particular plant, the pink Shasta begonia, Begonia coccinea. This one was interspersed throughout and was kind of a favorite for a lot of the butterflies that did go past as well too. And me being a fan of bromeliads because of the water tanks that they hold for not only water for butterflies but also can house other organisms such as frog tadpoles, beetle larvae, things along those lines. I really am interested in these, so seeing a blushing bromeliad in the middle of everything was quite a surprise as well. Its scientific name Neurogelia carolinae. And with all the difference in the butterflies that I did see throughout the butterfly garden, I did do some research into different effects of actual pesticides in the Florida communities. And ever since in the 19th century, with the outbreak of the yellow fever epidemic, mosquito control efforts were started in Florida and still continue even now. Mostly this is done through aerosol generators used in efforts to control the mosquitoes as a whole. And sometimes even the Air Force has gotten involved in the dispersal by airplanes, which is a common use of spreading an active mosquito control pesticide known as naled, which is airily applied. But because of this being spread out has led to the decline of several different butterfly species, including the Miami blue butterfly. Also including for that is the Bartram's hairstreak and the Florida leafwing butterflies, which are now all on the endangered species list, in large part because of habitat loss, but also pesticides are starting to take their toll as well. This may have something in common to do based on Philip Stoddard, a biological science professor at the Florida International University, has stated that not only mosquitoes are killed with these pesticides, but also their natural predators such as dragonflies, spiders, songbirds, and caterpillars in regards to different species are all affected by this. And with mosquito-borne diseases including dengue fever and chikungunya associated with places in high suburban areas such as South Miami. These are diseases that are in constant efforts to be controlled with mosquito pesticides in the populations. But a way to also combat in regards to not just spraying the pesticides has also been in removing standing water out of these suburban neighborhoods. Now, two other species that have also went missing in the same area include the Rockland grass skipper, which went missing in 1999, as well as the Zesto skipper in 2004. Now, with the abundance of these pesticide misting systems that are now approaching throughout all of the United States, this has led to a decline in many different species of insects because of the low level of pesticide misting with them by themselves would not do a lot, but because of the abundance of a lot more people using them has now created a serious impact on the environment. And as resilient as butterflies usually are with the research I did, I actually found out they're one of the most resilient insects in the world. With butterflies on the decline, if they are going extinct, according to Robert K. Robbins, an entomologist with the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, it is a strong indicator that we're messing up the environment around us, as 80% of the food crops on the planet are pollinated by insects such as bees, moths, and butterflies themselves. And these are just some nice pictures that I took or from the internet in regards to the different beautiful colors that you can imagine from these. And again, my favorite, the zebra swallowtail. And now I wanted to take a moment to go over some of the different species I found in the Museum of Natural History, in particular with the new frog exhibit that they have on display now. And with these frogs, I saw a lot of different creatures that were just beautiful colors, funny faces, a lot of different things that I noticed that in regards to building excitement for maybe school-age children, things along those lines. These organisms are needed to be looked after if the safety of them as well as other organisms they impact as well are ever going to survive. But the first one that I came across was a smoky jungle frog. He had sort of a reddish brown color to him. He was actually a little bit larger than a lot of the frogs that were on display for this. But his scientific name is Leptodactylus pentadactylus. He can grow up to 8 inches long. His range includes southern Central America and northern South America, and he is semi-aquatic. Now, the tadpoles wriggle free after hatching, as most of them do, and their eggs are deposited in floating foam nests in shallow water. Another one I came across as well, this was known as the Chinese gliding frog, and its scientific name is Rhacophorus denisi. It can grow up to 4 inches long, and its range includes southeastern China, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Laos. And its habitat includes montane forest. Now, the females lay eggs in foam nests attached to branches and grasses overhanging water, and they create the nest by beating a frothy secretion into foam with their hind legs. When the tadpoles of these actually hatch, they can drop it immediately from the branch right into the water. Next, there was the waxy monkey frog, Philomedusa selvagea, and this one I thought looked like me when I wake up in the morning without my coffee. I thought it was pretty funny to see for that as well. But when I was looking at this particular frog, I just happened to notice that with it staring up at me, it had its eyes closed one moment, and then as I was pulling my camera out, it had this weird look on its face as I pulled it out, like, are you really going to take a picture of me? But anyway, this frog, it can be 2 to 3 inches long. Its range includes the Chaco Desert of Argentina, Paraguay, and Bolivia, and it habitats mostly dry scrub forest. The females lay eggs on vegetation overhanging water as well, and the tadpoles hatch and drop into the water. And it takes 35 to 70 days for the tadpoles to metamorphosis, depending on the food and temperature available to them. And next, what I came across was the African clawed frog, which is actually a completely aquatic species. Its scientific name is Xenopus levis, and its range includes sub-Saharan Africa, introduced in freshwater areas worldwide. It is almost totally aquatic, with stagnant pools, puddles, and streams. The female lays hundreds of sticky eggs attached to plants, and the total change from egg to small frog takes 6 to 8 weeks total. Next, we have our African counterpart towards the bullfrog, the African bullfrog. And with this one, they can actually grow up to 8 inches in diameter, which is, if you can see from this picture, is quite a big diameter, kind of a flat pancake, so to speak, for it. Its scientific name is Pyxicephalus adspersus, which is my best go at that. Hopefully I did well with it. Its range is most of sub-Saharan Africa as well. Its habitat is on the ground anywhere water is likely to collect during a summer rain, as they take advantage of all those with the dry seasons and the wet seasons being not very prevalent out there, they need to take advantage of it wherever they can. And females lay up to 4,000 eggs, and they develop into froglets only 18 days later. Then I had two different variations in the same enclosure of the Mexican dumpy frog. These ones were pretty funny to look at because they just looked like a giant blob just hanging out there on their little limbs, so to speak. Their scientific name is Pachymedusa dacnycolor, and they are ranged from the Pacific coast of Mexico, and they are semi and subtropical lowland forests in which they inhabit. And these frogs mate in bushes and trees surrounding a pond, and the egg masses are laid on foliage above water, and the tadpoles fall into the water after hatching as well. Then, of course, coming from the African frogs, we come to our American counterparts with the American bullfrog, Lithobates satisbinus, and they can range 3.5 to 8 inches, and they are ranged from the eastern central U.S., and they are introduced in the western U.S. as well, and they are aquatic and live in ponds, lakes, and slow-moving streams. And females of this species of American bullfrogs can lay up to 20,000 eggs in long streams, and the tadpoles take up to 2 years to metamorphose, so they're actually quite more, they take a longer time to grow up than their African counterparts. Then we have the Asian tree toads. You can see the little planters back in their enclosure right there. They're a little bit shyer than most of these species I saw back there. Their scientific name is Pedostibes hosei, and they range from Malaysia, Borneo, Sumatra, and extreme southern Thailand. And they inhabit trees and shrubs near water. Their eggs are laid underwater in forest streams, and after metamorphosis, the young scatter into the surrounding leaf litter, climbing into shrubs and trees as they grow. And the shot was of the fire-bellied toad, which you cannot see in this shot, but if you look under its belly is a deep orange red that really denotes with this particular species the difference between those and similar looking ones in the same area. Its scientific name is Bombina orientalis. They can grow up to 2 inches. They range from Korea, northeastern China, and southeastern Russia. They inhabit ponds, lakes, ditches, and rice paddies where they inhabit, and their eggs are attached to rocks and plants, and within 3 weeks are free-swimming tadpoles. Then favorites of a lot of the people in the museum as I was going past, which is a little bit harder to get to this enclosure, but I eventually did, was the poison dart frogs, Dendrobates auratus. My particular favorite was the silvery blue and black ones towards the right enclosure that you see 3 of them grouped here, the yellow and black one towards the back right there. But they range anywhere going forward into these enclosures, going from the southern eastern South America and Peru. And little known fact, the indigenous Indians also used the secretions from their skin in their poison darts to kill animals and to whenever they hunted. And that is where they get their common name, the poison dart frog. And then we have the Amazon milk frog, which had a particularly happy look on its face when I came by. He was smiling, so I thought I particularly enjoyed taking a picture of him. His scientific name is Trachycephalus resinifictrix, and he can grow to 3 to 4.5 inches long, and they range from French Guiana, Brazil, Ecuador, and the Peruvian Amazon. They inhabit tree branches and wet tropical forests. And their breeding occurs very high in trees, and they deposit 2,000 to 3,000 eggs in water-filled tree holes or bromeliads, as I mentioned earlier, and the tadpoles hatch 2 weeks later. Then we have the smooth-sided toad, which was one of the smoother ones I did see, and one of the larger ones as well. They can grow up to 9 inches long, and its scientific name is Raboguttatus. They range in northern South America, and they are on the ground in the tropical forests. They are active by day and night, hunting prey on the forest floor, and one of the few toads with really smooth skin. Most of them have bumps all over their skin, as you can see the picture. This one does not. Then, with these particularly interesting looking ones, with them being nocturnal, these frogs were actually sleeping the majority of the time as I was there. They really did not perk up very much when I was taking pictures of them, but these are the Borneo-eared frogs, Polypodides audilophilus, and they range in Borneo, Sumatra, and other Indonesian islands. They inhabit rainforest trees and shrubs, plantations. The females lay eggs in foam nests attached to branches overhanging water again, and they create the nest by the frothy secretion with their hind legs, just as the earlier ones do. And they only grow about 3 to 4 inches long. And a particularly funny one that I did find on my walk as well was called the tomato frog, simply, and its scientific name is Discophus guinetti. They grow 2 to 4 inches, and they range in eastern Madagascar in low and mid-elevation rainforests, and they breed during the rainy season, with the female depositing up to 1,500 eggs, which hatch in about 36 hours or 3 days, and the tadpoles metamorphosis completely in about 45 days as well. And with the last thing on my trip that I ended up taking a picture of, I'll admit I didn't take quite as many pictures of some of the things that I could have, but I thought this particularly interesting subject with the portion I saw, which was the purple pitcher plant, Sarracenia purpurea. The actual plant itself is the flower in the red portion of the plant, as you can see, is what attracts the different the birds towards releasing their seeds, but the actual carnivorous part is the tube-sized leaves that are actually towards the bottom of the plant there. They actually excrete a pheromone that attracts insects, and inside is a digestive juice that will digest the insects when they fall in, and there are hairs interspersed throughout the inside of the tube that prevents the insect from flying out again. But that is basically it for my trip, and I thank you guys for listening in on me, and I hope you have a great rest of your summer and a good rest of your 2017. Thank you.